Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Scott Newhouse. Thank you for being here. Shout out to you and the dozens and dozens of other people watching on YouTube and on the podcast. Today, I want to talk about the great market crash of 2025. Yes, the one that we went through from March of this year until April of this year, how we were able to weather that storm. And to help us do that, I've got a newspaper from a couple months ago that's in an article that says, many say they're afraid to check their retirement accounts. And so what this newspaper article goes through is excuse me, maybe 4 to 5 different individuals, not financial advisors, who talk about their thoughts on the market crash, correction, whatever you want to call it. They talk about their thoughts as it was going on. So it's kind of middle of the storm. And so I'm going to read the quotes, offer my commentary on whether I agree with their thinking or I think they need to improve their thinking. And really, this is trying to help us plan and prepare for the next market correction so that we think more intelligently, we think better, we think less emotionally about whatever we're going through whenever we do have that next market downturn, which is absolutely going to happen at some point. Don't know when, but we just need to elevate our thinking and make sure we're able to weather it confidently. So that's what this episode is about. Let's jump right into it. Okay, so I've got the article pulled up on my screen. I'll share it with you guys if you're listening in on the podcast. I'm really just going to read out the quotes from these individuals. I'm not going to read the whole article, but I'll put the whole article in the comment, in the description of the video. So I will read this one paragraph, though. Michael Montgomery used to check the balance on his retirement accounts about once a week and smile, but lately, not wanting to get upset and question if he could retire in a few years, there's only one solution. I am not looking, said the 66-year-old professor. Okay, so 2 different things here. First of all, I think he's spot on. When there is a market crash, correction, recession, whatever you want to call it, I think it's fantastic advice just to not look. It's going to cause too much anxiety and fear and panic in you. And so if you know, like cognitively, like, okay, I'm not equipped to look at my portfolio when it's down, 20, 30, 40, 50%. Just honestly, don't even look. Don't even look. That's great advice from him. The second thing about checking your accounts when things are good once a week, I think that's a little much. And I know people that have done it and still do it daily. I think that's insane. I think that's terrible behavior. And I don't think you should ever look at it every day. But I would probably push it back to once a month. And if you can, maybe once a quarter. Honestly, I don't know if I look at my own accounts once a quarter. It's definitely, it might be less than that. But I just, we're trying to focus on long-term investing. So if you're checking every day or week, it's a little too much for my comfort, but it's not the worst thing in the world to do it once a week. I would push it back though. Okay. One more quote from Michael. And he says, I hope like hell I don't lose all of my retirement savings, but where else could you put the money that these people, I'm assuming the Trump administration and Trump himself, could not cause disorder? They can't get into your mattress, but that's about it. So the thing that I don't like here, well, again, 2 things on this one. I hope like hell I don't lose all of my retirement savings. I mean, if you're in a globally diversified portfolio, you've probably got 8,000 plus different companies, mostly are all of them, I assume companies in the US you would own, and then thousands of companies around the world. So you own small pieces of these companies worldwide. If your account balance goes from 100,000 down to 0 and you don't take any money out, it's i.e. basically the stock market goes away, those companies, what it would mean is those companies essentially had gone bankrupt. There's no profits. There might be no viable operations. There's literally no worth to those businesses at all. No one's willing to buy it. So, yeah, I mean, if the global stock market literally goes to 0, if those 8,000 companies become worthless, well, yeah, I mean, that's the worst thing we would ever have to encounter in our economic history. So I really don't think you have to worry about all of those companies going to 0. If you own 5 single stocks, yeah, I actually do think you need to be worried about a lot of the risk that those companies might have, bad business moves, improper practices, and then they could go to 0, like Enron, WorldCom. We've seen plenty of companies go to 0. But if you own 8,000 plus worldwide, I really don't think you need to be worried about losing, quote, all of your retirement savings. The second thing that he says here is, where else could these people, i.e. Trump, not cause disorder with my money. I appreciate that, at least as far as I can tell, he has not sold his investments. So I think that's great. But he's obviously thinking about politics in terms of his investment strategy. And yes, Trump absolutely was a main driver of the tariff wars. And we could go back to those tariff wars, by the way. But so I get that he played a part in that, in a really big part. But I just think you need to think long term. Trump, his first administration, stock market was up solidly. Stock market's done well under Democrats, Republicans, a variety of policies. So he's thinking about politics a little too much for my taste in terms of investments, but I don't think he's sold anything because of that. So I do like that from what I saw in this article about him. So let's go into our next person, though, and let's Janine Oates Estridge, and she was so quote unquote paranoid in her own words. She asked her financial advisor, how about we put it all in cash? And the financial advisor gave amazing advice and said, I just don't advise it. So let me share where I'm going to let me change where I'm sharing my screen. We're looking at the S&P 500 so far year to date. It's up 4%, but back when we had that correction, crash, whatever you want to call it, we were down 7 to 10%. And that's probably when Janine was asking her advisor, should I sell? Advisor gave great advice, which is to hold on. And since that time period, whenever she placed that phone call, her portfolio is probably up, 10 to 15%. So that was great advice from the financial advisor. Okay, so our next individual is Peter Roast. He's 72, retired from his software development job last year, so that'd be 2024, and he wanted to take out some money, $2,000 a month, to supplement his Social Security benefit. I'm assuming $2,000 a month. He doesn't actually say it explicitly. Meanwhile, though, he said his account dropped by $30,000. He's been through serious downturns before, but those were different. Quote, I had the time to be patient and let it work its way back, but now I'm retired and I need money from that account. At his age, he says, there's one goal, make sure I don't run out of money before I die. Okay, so there's a lot to kind of digest on this quotes. First of all, I'm assuming he knew when he was going to retire and he was planning to retire by 71. So if that's the case, you really do need to be thinking about what investment changes do I need to make before I retire. I'd say probably 5 years before you retire, because what you want to do is you really want to bring down the risk, the volatility in your portfolio. And I've talked about this in other videos, but my personal preference is pretty conservative. I want 1 to 2 years of cash in a high yield savings account, money market, something like that, to pay for any living expenses in retirement. Then from there, I want some kind of allocation in bonds. And the bonds are going to be less volatile than the stock market, and they're going to be not 100% correlated with the stock market. So I remember during COVID, stock market was down 35%, in March 2020, April 2020. And then at that same time, I had a client who had some bonds in their account. They needed money from me. Guess what? Those bonds were actually flat. So stock market was down 35%, bonds were flat. Well, guess where I took the money out of her account when she needed money? From the bond portfolio. And that made all the sense in the world. I'm not going to sell a stock when it's 35% down, but taking out money out of an investment that's that's even, that hasn't lost money at all that year, that's a no-brainer in my mind. So Peter, I don't know if he did, but what he should have done if he's retired at 71, at 66, 67, 68, he should have been thinking, how do I lower the risk on my portfolio and get some non-correlated assets? How do I make sure I have enough emergency fund savings to fund my living expenses? Those are the things that he should have been thinking about before he retired. Now, the second lesson that we have here is that, he said, and this is hindsight, but he says, I had the time to be patient back then and let it work its way back. Now I'm retired and I need money from that account. And, we all thought, not all of us, but a lot of people thought, hey, this tariff war, this is going to last for all of 2025, maybe even longer than that, might be 12, 18, 24 months. Well, guess what? As we just showed on the screen before, we were back to even, and now we're up in the course of, what was it? A month and a half, 2 months. So just because you think one thing's going to happen in terms of market performance or news events, we're not Nostradamus. We cannot predict this stuff. You can't anticipate, guess with accuracy consistently what the stock market's going to do. So I hope that's a lesson that Peter learns, at least from what we've seen so far this year. And the whole, plan for your retirement before you get there, yeah, that can't really help him at this stage since he's already retired. But hopefully, if you're within 5 years of retirement, you got to be looking at bringing down the risk and finding the right risk amount that you're willing to take in your portfolio. Okay, so that's all I've got for this episode. But look, if you've got a 30-year retirement ahead of you, you are going to have numerous times when the stock market just does some stuff that you really don't like. And the most important thing is to control what you can control, which is your behaviors and even your thoughts. If you do not feel like you can navigate those downturns on your own without making some questionable decisions, I really do encourage you to find a financial planner that you trust and that you like that can help guide you through those situations. But if you're doing it on your own, just make sure you don't check your accounts too often. Make sure you think long-term about your investments. Don't think short-term about our politicians or news events. Make sure that you have thought through, how do I get through any downturns with cash savings, with bonds, with non-correlated assets, in addition to your stock portfolio. And so I hope this is helpful so that next time we go through something bad, we can all weather the storm a little bit better. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye.